Beautiful.
All right, this is Andrew. Just making sure you can hear me.
We can.
All right, I will call this meeting to order of the Design Review Board for Thursday, October 24th. I'll request staff confirmation that the Kansas Open Meeting Act required notice has been properly provided.
Yes, I can confirm the packet was posted and the required notice was provided.
Thank you. Item 1.3, roll.
I will now call the roll. Board Member Nelson.
Here.
Board Member Herman.
Here.
Board Member Cates.
Here.
Board Member Freeland. Chair Manley.
Present.
So we have a quorum of 4 members present, and we have a chair to run the meeting, so we can proceed with today's meeting agenda.
All right, moving on to item 2.1 and 2.2. We'll go ahead and throw them together if that's all right with staff. Is there a motion for approval or comments related to the minutes?
I move we approve the previous meeting's minutes.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to new business, item 3.1.
Item 3.1 is a continuation or follow-up of application 24-10, which had been filed by Catherine Kitchen on behalf of 1858 Properties. And 1858 Properties is the owner of the property that was formerly the Prickly Pear and is now being converted to a Jose Peppers restaurant. And the location of that is 123 South Santa Fe on the north side of Campbell Plaza. And the purpose of today's meeting is for a follow-up review of proposed wall and projecting signs for the project. And Mr. Roberts is going to present staff's report on the proposed sign package.
Thank you, Dean. This property at 123 South Santa Fe has an extensive background. We attached a background report to your packets, so if you're looking for more information on the history of this property, you can find that there. In March of 2024, Wheat State One LLC just deeded ownership of the building and property to 123 South Santa Fe, of 123 South Santa Fe to 1858 Properties LLC. The Prickly Pear announced it was closing in July, and since then, 1858 Properties has announced that Jose Peppers will be moving in at that location. 1858 Properties submitted a certificate of compatibility application seeking approval of their plans that would make significant changes to the south facade of the building at 123 South Santa Fe in the adjoining Campbell Plaza. The Salina Business Improvement District Design Review Board, this board, met on July 11th, 2024 to review a certificate of compatibility application filed by 1858 Properties requesting approval of a certificate of compatibility to allow the following exterior modifications to be made at the building. 1, construction of a covered patio dining area. 2, construction of a new south entrance vestibule. And 3, installation of a new wall sign on the south wall of the building, rebranding the building as a Jose Peppers restaurant. The application also requested the approval of the installation of 2 proposed blade or projecting signs on the west and south face of the building, but final design plans were not able to be provided at the July 11th, 2024 hearing. At the request of the applicant, review of the sign proposal was deferred to a later design review board hearing to be considered as its own agenda item, which is why we are here today. The Design Review Board approved a motion 3.0 to approve the certificate of compatibility for all the listed requested exterior alterations. Following the July 11th meeting, the applicant, Catherine Kitchen of 1858 Properties, informed staff that the project designer had proposed modifications to the proposed exterior signage, including type of sign, number of signs, illumination method, and size of proposed signage. Staff informed Ms. Kitchen that the proposed signage would need to be brought before the DRB for review and approval before any sign permits could be issued, which is why we are here today. The applicant, 1858 Properties, is proposing to install new wall signage on behalf of Jose Peppers. The applicant is proposing to install 3 new signs on the exterior of the building. The first sign is a 13.1 foot by 2.3 foot internally illuminated wall sign reading Jose Peppers, as well as an accessory 11-inch by 7.5 foot internally illuminated sign reading Tex-Mex Made Fresh, to be placed on the south-facing wall along Campbell Plaza. The second sign is a 3.5 foot by 4.1 foot blade sign that would extend over the Santa Fe Avenue sidewalk above the east storefront entrance to the building. And the third sign is a 2 foot 8 inch in diameter blade sign that would extend over the south vestibule entrance into the restaurant being located in Campbell Plaza. Because this property is located within the Business Improvement District, review and approval of the proposed exterior signs is required by the Design Review Board before a sign permit can be issued for the proposed wall signs and projecting sign. A public hearing has been scheduled before the Design Review Board to review this request for conformance with the design guidelines for downtown Salina. So on pages 3, 4, and 5 of your staff report, you can find design guidelines, specific policies and guidelines contained in the design guidelines that are relevant to these signs. I'm going to note a few of them. On page 4, you'll find A7, a projecting sign is encouraged. A small projecting sign should be located near the business entrance. And a projecting sign is easier for a pedestrian to read than other signs and is encouraged. So 2 of the proposed signs are projecting signs. So as pedestrians are walking down Santa Fe, they are able to see where Jose Peppers is located. Next, I want to draw your attention to A11 on page 5. A simple sign design is preferred. These signs are simple in their design, distinguishing just the Jose Peppers logo, as well as the slogan Tex-Mex Made Fresh, and are otherwise simple in their design. And then A13, if internal illumination is used, it should be designed to be subordinate to the overall building composition. Internal illumination of an entire sign panel is discouraged. However, if internal illumination is used, a system that backlights the text is preferred. In each case, the signs are illuminated so that only the letters are illuminated and the rest of the sign is opaque. So next, we'll move into staff comments and analysis. The building at 123 South Santa Fe Avenue has 25 feet of frontage on South Santa Fe. The C4 Central Business District sign regulations allow up to 3 square feet of sign area per lineal foot of street frontage, with 25 feet of building frontage on Santa Fe. Up to 75 square feet of total sign area would be allowed on this building. The C4 sign regulations also allow a maximum of 4 signs per business and 10 signs per zoning lot. Jose Peppers is proposing to put up 3 signs. The first sign, the 13 by 2 foot or 30 square foot internally illuminated wall sign, reads Jose Peppers, as well as the accessory 11-inch by 7.5 foot sign reading Tex-Mex Made Fresh, is to be placed on the south-facing wall along Campbell Plaza. You can see on the screen that it's proposed to be located on the upper portion of that wall. The Jose Peppers portion of the sign consists of cutout vinyl letters that are intended to have a distressed look to them. These letters will be internally illuminated, and the accessory sign will have a black opaque cabinet with white vinyl letters reading Tex-Mex Made Fresh. With the two proposed projecting signs or blade signs, the first sign is a 3.5 foot by 4.1 foot blade sign that would extend over the Santa Fe Avenue sidewalk above the east storefront entrance. The sign has an irregular shape and will be attached in the same location as the previous prickly pear blade sign. And the sign will be internally illuminated with the colored vinyl being translucent and the black on the sign face being opaque. The second blade sign is circular and has a total square footage of 5.6 square feet, and it would extend over the south vestibule entrance into the restaurant located in Campbell Plaza. This blade sign is proposed to have the same illumination method as the west-facing blade sign, with the sign being internally illuminated with the colored vinyl being translucent and the black on the sign face being opaque. Illuminated signs are permitted in the C4 Central Business District, but the design guidelines express a preference for backlit signs. The proposed signage, while internally illuminated, is proposed to only illuminate the letters, while the rest of the sign face is black and opaque. This illumination method is in line with signage the board has previously approved, including Sunflower Bank and the Cellar. Finally, the C4 sign code allows for up to 67% of a building's allotted sign allowance to be placed on any one building facade. This means that this building could have up to 50 square feet of signage on one singular facade. The west primary facade along Santa Fe is proposed to have one blade sign with a total square footage of 14.4 square feet. And the south facade of the building, facing Campbell Plaza, is proposed to have a wall sign with a total square footage of 36.88 square feet and a blade sign with a total square footage of 5.6 square feet for a total of 42.48 square feet of signage on that facade. The building would have a total of 56.88 square feet of signage, which is less than the 75 square feet in total, and less than 67% of sign square footage would be on any one building facade, meaning that it meets the standard of the C4 sign regulations. On page 6 and 7, you can find findings within the design guidelines for approval of this sign. The board would have the following alternatives when making a decision on these signs. They could approve the amended certificate of compatibility application for the proposed signage upon finding that the proposed exterior signage will conform to the design guidelines. They could 2, approve the amended application and propose wall signage subject to any conditions approved by a majority of the design review board members. 3, they could postpone consideration of the amended application with the consent of the applicant in order to acquire more information. Or 4, the board could deny the amended application as presented upon making findings of fact for the reasons of denial. And staff would recommend option 2, approval with the following conditions. 1, if Jose Peppers makes any significant changes to the design, color, or materials of the proposed signage presented to the design review board, these will be presented to the board's administrative staff to determine whether additional review by the board is needed. 2, a separate sign permit shall be applied for and issued for all exterior signage. And 3, the 2 blade signs shall be placed at least 10 feet above the sidewalk or plaza. And with that, staff is available for any questions, and Ms. Kitchen is also here to answer any questions on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you for that thorough presentation. I'll ask the board before we ask Ms. Kitchen to come up if there's any questions of staff.
Nope.
All right, seeing none, I'll invite Ms. Kitchen for any comments.
Catherine, Kitchen with 1858 Properties. I don't have any specific things other than the wall sign on the south, for those of you that maybe were part of that meeting before, of just understanding kind of what changed. That sign, when we presented, it had a back panel, and we had proposed having not only front lighting but back lighting on the building itself, and we've removed that. And also the border around the letters was a dark color, and now it's a white. So that's the kind of, and it did change the size of it some. But that's really, if you're wondering what changed about that, just outlining that. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions.
On the wall sign, how will it be attached to the wall? Like, is it like in terms of like, is where are the connections going to be? Like, is it going to be in the masonry? Is it going to be in the, like, I don't want to say, is it the grout? Is that the word? The grout, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that is actually an image of how, so each letter will be attached to a metal raceway,
Okay.
To hold those in place, and then that raceway will be attached. And I am not a contractor, so I can only speak very high level, but it will be attached in the wall of the building, the raceway, and I'm not sure how many attachments it will be. My guess is with its size, it's more than one.
Right.
But beyond that, I leave that to the sign installers to
Okay.
have that more specific.
The letters wouldn't be pinned to the wall itself. They'd have.
They are
there's
going to be actually attached to a metal raceway behind, and then that so it basically becomes
Right.
one unit that then
Right.
is attached.
Okay.
I was just wondering if you could confirm and clarify for the board, the plan is still that the Santa Fe doorway will be like an emergency exit only and will not be a primary entrance.
That is correct.
So
On
there
the
will,
west.
there will still be a doorway, but the customers will all enter from the Campbell Plaza
Okay.
Oh, okay.
vestibule and not from this doorway.
Okay.
The door
Trying
will
to
be
create
maintained, but
a better flow.
Yeah.
You know, before in the previous operator, it was a little disjointed. So trying to have kind of one flow into the space in a place, and with that vestibule, it will give places for people to wait if a table isn't available. It's trying to create kind of that flow.
Thank you for clarifying.
so we just wanted to clarify the sign is over a doorway, but it's not a primary entrance into the restaurant. So.
All right. Any other questions from the board of the applicant?
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Kitchen. All right. Are there any comments from the public? I believe we have one on. Oh, Leslie says speaker's not working, but no comment. Let me just read. It left my phone. I don't know if the city can still read that comment from Leslie. I didn't see the second half of it.
Yep, she just said that her speaker was not working and she had no comment. Thank you. So.
Okay. All right. Bringing it back to the board. Any questions, comments? If none, I will entertain a motion.
I'll move for option 2 with the conditions recommended by staff.
Second.
All right, it is moved and seconded, and those changes in the packet, basically any changes, significant changes to the project that'll be come back to the board. A sign permit is submitted, and that the two-blade signs shall be 10 feet above the ground. So just for audio purposes, it's moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Same sign. Opposed. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much. All right. Are there any administrative items or preliminary discussion items for today?
We have no administrative items or preliminary discussion items to bring to the board's attention as we look at other business or future business. Because the way the calendar falls in November, the scheduled meeting dates would be the 14th and the 28th. And 28th would fall on Thanksgiving, so we're not going to meet on that day. And so we cannot tell you whether, currently we don't have anything filed for the meeting on the 14th, and we will notify you for sure whether that meeting would be canceled due to lack of agenda items. But there would only be one meeting in November, and if not, then we would not see the board until December.
All right. Any unfinished business?
Unless board members have a project or they would like to ask questions about.
Okay. Move on to public forum. I
I
think
am
Leslie
just curious about like where the Auld Lang Syne was at, if we've heard anything more about that. Because I know they've demoed a lot on the outside.
You're talking about we have had some meetings with them, but some of our meetings have been about their plans for putting residential on the upper floor there, and so it's there. They didn't give us specific feedback other than it does not appear that they're going to take the stucco and the panels and cover everything back up. I think they've been pleased with what they've found and are going to try to work with that. We did have some discussion with the owner about perhaps trying to receive a historic designation on the building, which would help them to access historic tax credits to help with the renovation. So if you're familiar with the National Bank of America building directly across the street, that was put on the National Register of Historic Places, and that allowed the owner to utilize state and federal historic tax credits. So they're just kind of taking it one step at a time, but they seem to not be wanting to cover everything back up again. I think they're pleased with what they found. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, anything else? All right, I will move for, open for a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
I second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.